Fear is what the enemy wants. And when you fear things, you don't move. That is the great plan that they have in the White House. Fear us, fearing us. So we're going to start our panel discussion. And I'll just tell you a little bit about me. Anna loves advocacy. Oh my God, I love advocacy. Always love talking. But I love talking only when I'm educated. So before you can talk, you must be first educated in facts and truth and not emotional bullcrap. And so in order for you, I feel in order for you to say, I want to take lead in this community, I think first you should talk to the community. And so this is why I want to start having these panel discussions. I have a podcast called Just a Thought, and I do it with Yogi G in the back. And the reason why we do this is because so many times we tell each other things, but we don't pass them with facts. So before we say, I don't like this candidate, or before we say, I don't like this person, give them a chance. Ask them the questions instead of always being in your house or around your friends. Ask them the hard questions, and this is why I'm doing it. So this is my friend Yvette Selby. And of course it's grassroots, so this is an idea. No one is perfect up here. I don't have it all like big shebang. But Yvette is our moderator tonight. Came up with some questions we kind of like maneuvered because we really want transparency, we want truth, and we really want to hear the story of DC. Because when I hear DC natives using certain terms for a reason, so I always call this city the tale of two cities. So if you come to this city, I think respectfully, you should know about this city.
All right. Excuse me, everyone. So like Anna said, I am Yvette Selby. I am CEO and founder of By STEM Innovation, a nonprofit that I just started that helps organizations and schools with their STEM programming. And so to start us off, I always am an advocate for education. So I thought our first question would be around education. And what I'm going to do is have the panel just answer each of the questions, at least up front. And then as you go to address the question, if you could do an introduction of who you are, sort of, anything you want us to know, so that we can get to know who you are. So I'm going to do the first question. This one is on education and real needs. So in the city, we talk a lot about the future of education, but families and schools are dealing with real challenges right now. Teacher shortages, limited access to advanced math and technology, and unequal STEM and CTE opportunities across DC. And with the new graduation requirements being proposed, what students need to graduate and workforce ready is changing. What do you see as the biggest needs students and educators have right now to succeed? And in your role, how would you help make sure every student, no matter their school or zip code, has access to strong teachers, real career pathways, and courses they need to graduate ready for what's next? That was long, so if I need to repeat anything, Reverend.
So, as a product of DC Public Schools, graduated from Anacostia Senior High School in Southeast Washington, D.C. I was brought up under the DC track system. The track system that I, as a student, participated in at the elementary school level, they focused on arithmetic, reading, and writing. And then when we got to junior high, which is now middle school, we began to look at trades and vocational opportunities and civics. And then when we got to high school, they focused on career development and job placement, getting us ready for the work in Washington, D.C. and the DMV, Maryland and Virginia. So a lot of us, when we graduated, we either went to college or we got involved with the government, the federal government, because we all were taught the civil service exam, or we had a trade, whether typing or carpentry or brick line, you know, all that. But the educational foundation was rooted in homogeneous grouping. So when the teacher went into the classroom, all of the children that were in that class were at the same level of educational attainment. So if you were in 8th grade, the students were either at the grade 7th grade or 8th grade. If they were in 10th grade, the students in that classroom were either at the 10th grade level or the 9th grade level in reading, arithmetic, and all. And so we had a system that built us as individuals. So that when we graduated, now some of us had some challenges. I was one, because some days I wasn't in school that I should have been in school, so I missed some things. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I did that too. But you know, when we left school or didn't go to school, you know where we went? We went to the National Mall. You know why we went to the National Mall? So we could blend in with the tourists coming in from around the country, because we as kids, they wouldn't bother us. But we went to sightsee, we went to the museums and just had fun. I later became a social studies teacher, certified. I'm also a veteran. But all of the schools that I left, that I attended, they were very disciplined, and they loved the students. They made sure that the students were taken care of. Now, where are we right now? The educational system is so individualistic focused, and it's not about collaborative learning. And I think that's where I'm having a problem.
Thank you so much for moderating. Thank you so much, Anna, for putting this together. I'll apologize to the audience quickly. My answer is going to be really brief because we have Sister Jackie and we have Brother Mustafa, who could probably answer these questions much better than me. But anyways, my name is Dr. Oyewole. I'm a pharmacist. I'm the U.S. representative candidate for council. But to answer your question directly about how to improve our educational outcomes, it is the microcosm of our DC government right now. We find problems and throw money at it rather than time. And in a city that spends the second highest per capita in students, but middling in results, what we realize is that we don't have enough time for our kids. We just throw money at our issues. Now I'll go specific with this. As a Nigerian American child, I was pushed from a young age to pursue a science career. It wasn't optional. It wasn't something that I could not choose. And although a lot of Nigerian Americans feel traumatized by their childhoods, a lot of them are in high-paying careers. And when I moved to Washington, D.C., I saw a lot of kids that looked like me that didn't have that push. So I armed myself with the duty of giving back in that way. So for the past 12 years, I volunteered in classes from Ward 1 to Ward 2 to Ward 8, and I basically pushed them into life science. We did experiments, we put them in white coats, we made them call each other doctors. And I work with white kids, I work with Latino kids, I work with black kids. In the second and third grade, they're just kids. A lot of them don't know what race they are. So when we push the achievement gap on them, when we tell them that their teachers are no good, they start to internalize that they're not worthy enough. So I made no excuses. I didn't feel bad for these kids. I just got them to like science. And when we put more intentionality into getting more volunteers, getting more professionals, getting more folks that can inspire these kids from a young age, they're less likely to make bad decisions because they know what they want to be. It's not just education, it's also our public safety. I end with this. Studies show that for every year a kid's in college reduces their risk of committing a violent offense by 10%. 2 years, 20%, 3 years and beyond. Just violence, not like financial crime or whatever. But when people are worried about crime in their communities, they're concerned about the carjacking, they're concerned about the gun violence, they're concerned about the fighting. And when we get more kids to spend more time and learn what they want to be and get their expectations for themselves higher, then they make different decisions that keep all of our communities safe. So, like I said, we need to spend more time with these kids and not just throw money at them and walk away, because that's not working.
Gracias. Gracias, Yvette, and gracias, Anna, for having this forum. I'm Jackie Reyes-Yanes, and I am the candidate for Ward 1. I am a product of DCPS, and I'm also an immigrant. I came here in 1990. Home was my Washington, D.C. has been my home ever since that opened the door to an open and safe place. Even though 1990, it was not the beautiful, safest place in D.C. And the DCPS back then, I remember the days that the schools were never open on time. And I went to Aliceville. It was on the other side of the river and other side of the town. So I had the privilege to have a quality education. And what that happened was then I didn't know my parents, right? So I became another statistics. I got pregnant when I was 15. By the age of 20, I had 3 kids. But I had a good village, Latin America Youth Center, and the Columbia Heights education, that back then was Bell. Miss Tukiva, Maria Tukiva was the principal, and they opened up a daycare. And I'm going to tell you about why I think that one size doesn't fit all. And what are you talking about, and this is why I got involved in politics in 2005, Adrian Fenty wanted to change the schools and wanted to take over because there was nobody who answered or could be accountable at DCPS. And the schools were deplorable. There were not lightings, there was cold. Back if we were in 1990, I don't think that we could ever be with this cold and with this heat, because the heat never was working. Do you remember at that time? I don't know how many are from DC. Raise your hands, please. Do you know when there was cold, sometimes they're called out because the heat was not working. If we would have that today, the mayor wouldn't have a job because it will be chaos. But those are the days that we came from. So coming back 30 years today, I think I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story. You already know I came from El Salvador. I'm a Civil War survivor, and I know what it is to have nothing. And I got into politics because I wanted to change the schools. Because I was a single mom, and I know that childcare and also education was a big priority for me and my kids. And I started working in government for 20 years. And it's being said it's easy, right? But it takes discipline, consistency to be through a government and to make sure that we're making a change. I became the first Salvadorian to be appointed as the mayor's office on Latino affairs. And Latino kids were dropping, they were not graduating. Were you talking about like, oh, they're gonna go to college? Guess what? Latinos were not graduating. And then I started working with the Latino Student Fund to do a study so we can put more extracurricular activities in 5 schools. Columbia Heights Check, Cardoso, Walter Reed, back then Wilson, Coolidge. And we started doing extracurricular activities, and then 5% of Latinos started graduating. What am I saying with this? That resources in the classrooms make a big impact. So we have to still working at, but one size doesn't fit all. Some of them, college is not the answer. So we have to, and I agree with the Reverend Motley, that we have to have more vocational training. Because guess what? Most of our brown and black kids ended up at construction companies, working as laborers. So why don't we start working with our vocational trainings, start training our kids, and by the time they finish high school, they will be able to be foremen, be in other type of trades. So that's what I think that we should go on with the CPS. And as a councilwoman, I will make sure that we have oversight on the CPS and charter schools to do so. So that is my speak on education. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. That was great. And thank you, Reverend Motley and Dr. White, because all of you all, I agree with everything you said. And I can reach back to my actual experience growing up right around the corner. I grew up in Ward 4. And DC public schools, of course, that's all we knew. And even the Catholic schools back then, I'm 55 years old in June. So I've been here and I've seen it all, I've done it all. And like my brother Kevin likes to remind me, I've been to 3 different high schools. So unwillingly, but I developed a great experience of seeing, being able to have the benefit of different teachers, principals, school facilitators, even janitors, that were, back then our janitors would have conversations with us.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, the village. I'm a product of the village. And that village is one thing that was very instrumental in our community back then, because we didn't have a choice. When we got out of school, of course we didn't have the challenge of the technology as the younger generation does now. The phones are a nightmare. And it's very hard to beat that. It's like a lose-lose situation. But we had the advantage of when we left school at 3 o'clock, even the guys in the neighborhood, they were making sure that you did your homework. You get in the house, you gotta do your homework. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. If you are an athlete or any sports, we had the benefit of the Metropolitan Boys and Girls Clubs, who, if you are not familiar with what those were actually the police department. Each ward had a Boys and Girls Club, and we had activities, after school activities. Everybody had everybody was on the same page, pretty much, as far as the community. So now, and if someone was, let's say a child was being neglected or a child was hungry or something like that, the community would kind of double down on the parent, if there is a parent. And that time has changed, because what's happening now is teachers, I feel so sorry for them in the schools, because the teachers are grateful now that if someone comes in and just to check on their child and see what's going on. They are surprised now, and that's a sad situation, because the teachers are afraid to engage and even discipline the children. I don't mean physically, but the teachers are afraid to engage with the student, because they feel like the parent is going to be on the child's side versus the teacher. They don't even want to hear it's a not my child situation. And this is what I've been seeing myself and this has been going on for years now in the DC public school system. And like Reverend Motley mentioned, those trades, and we had civics, we had DC history.
Yes.
If you were in DCPS, you're going to learn DC history before you leave that school. It's a lot missing, and I'm not sure what they're doing in the charter schools. I haven't really gone and really observed what's going on in the charter schools now. I know so much has changed. Even the junior high school I went to, Rabeau, not far from here, is a charter school now. But I do know what I see, and when I ride through the town, and if it's 3 o'clock, the time the kids are getting out of school, they're just off the chain,
Yeah.
for lack of a better phrase. And if there's no one, it's like the community is scared. We can't be afraid of our children.
Yeah.
Okay? And we have to, because it's like a dog that smells blood.
Yeah.
You know, the kids know when
Smell.
you are afraid of them or don't want to engage with them, or, you know, so we have to find a way as a community to bring back, you know, everything that's old is not out of date. You know, some people just say, you know, that's the old school method, but some of those things still work, and especially when we're trying to raise a village. You know what I mean? We want our kids, our younger generation, to be able to have a stake in this city, because we do see that the narrative is changing. It's no more, which we grew up, we called it the Chocolate City. And of course, DC has always been a melting pot. We have always welcomed all nationalities. And it's always been love. It's always been neighborhoods, you know, Chinatown, you know, Adams Morgan. You know, we are built on culture. And, you know, we want to be able to for everybody to work together, because to me, the most important thing is having a younger generation that can be able to uphold our legacy,
Yes.
which is the nation's capital. We are the most powerful nation
Yes.
in the United States. We are the nation's capital, and I think we should, you know, have pride in that.
So first, I want to say a huge thank you to Ana Rodriguez. Ana and I met a couple months ago and became very fast friends, and now colleagues in the race for political office. And I am just so thrilled and delighted to have met you, Ana. You are such a phenomenal public servant for DC and such a phenomenal friend and citizen. And this is a real thrill. So she said, I want to have an event for you. I want to gather people. I want them to meet you. And we planned all that. And then then DC for Democracy planned the delegate candidate forum for tonight. And that's why Ana is very graciously giving me this time. First, because I can't be on the panel anymore, I got to go participate in the forum. So thank you for this chance to meet you and talk to you. I'm going to give you the 60-second statement that I'm about to give the candidate forum. So you can tell me what you think, and if you don't like it, I still have like 4 minutes to change it, okay? So, but here's me and the DC delegate job in a nutshell, okay? These are not normal times. We have a president who takes what he wants by force, whether it's the oil fields of Venezuela, the bodies of women, or the streets of Washington, D.C. Therefore, the DC delegate has a very specific and unusual job. The delegate has to find allies and partners across the nation, in Congress and beyond Congress, to help DC protect our autonomy, reinvent our economy, and strengthen the standing of the city on the national stage. That's my superpower. For 30 years, I have had senior roles in the White House, the Department of Justice, DC Education Nonprofits, Microsoft, and the DNC. And in all those roles, I have built the kind of durable national coalition that DC needs right now to make it safer, stronger, and more affordable into the future. I love this city. I have lived here for 30 years. I raised 4 kids here, and I'm not going to let Trump and the Republican Congress roll over us. So that's the shortest stump speech I've ever given, but it's the distilled version of like who I am and what I think this delegate role is. It's not like the other roles. It's not like any other member of Congress. It's not like any local elected position in DC. It's not even what it used to be in decades past. It's a new job, it's a critical opportunity for the city at a crossroads. And I think my professional and my life experience matches what that job takes. So let me stop there. I would love to hear from you. What's on your mind? What do you think about this race, about this job, about the state of the city, about the state of the country? So let me open it up, and I'd love to hear what you're thinking.
I know you just mentioned it's a new job and it's not the same as it was once 30 years ago. Can
I
you
think,
explain
yes,
that a little bit?
yes, okay, there are only 2 people who've ever held this job, the delegate job. And I have enormous respect for Eleanor Holmes Norton. I think she did very important things for decades in this city. But the reason, but DC has long gotten the short end of the stick in this country. But this president has jacked up the assault to a whole new level. And we have got to have our A-team in place, in the leadership positions in the city, to protect our autonomy. That means that starting with protecting home rule, protecting our budget autonomy, getting a vote on the House floor, and ultimately statehood. So we've got to protect those things, and we've got to fight even harder than ever to find allies, partners, and friends across the country who can fight with us and for us. Because we don't have a vote yet. Of course we want to get it, but until we have it, we need help fighting our battles. We need friends and allies across the country, sometimes in the Democratic Party, sometimes outside of politics altogether. We need allies and friends. That's the only way to get things done when you don't have formal power yourself. And we don't have formal power. So I want to find us those friends. And I don't think that that has been the main focus of the prior administrations of this job. I think they had other challenges. They had other priorities. But right now, what DC needs is allies and partners across the country, and coalitions of friends, and I know how to build those. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening. There was a time when the Democrats were in power. They had the president, they had the House, and they had the Senate. They still wouldn't give us the vote.
Correct.
Why was that?
You are absolutely right that when the Democrats had the opportunity, they did not prioritize DC. And I want to fix that. And I know a lot of the Democratic leaders because I was a deputy national finance chair at the DNC, and I was co-chair of Women for Kamala Harris. I know many lawmakers across the Democratic Party, and I want to use my relationships to persuade them that they made a big mistake and that they're out there now rightfully complaining about voter suppression and redistricting. But if they don't put DC statehood first, if they're going to leave behind 700,000 of us who don't even have the vote, let alone have it be suppressed or reorganized, we don't even have the basic vote. And if they don't put that first in their civil rights and voting rights and human rights platform, it's hypocritical and it's not fair. And they just haven't been persuaded yet that it's the right thing to do. But that will be my #1 priority.
Did you have a question, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
First off, hats off. Congratulations
Thank you.
on having been bold enough to run for the seat, because I'm a native DC, I'm a native Washingtonian, and the majority of folks from my era grew up with one person in that seat.
Yes.
And that's Eleanor Holmes Norton. And the political issue with that seat is the majority of the city, and I'm talking about my peers, we have grown up with this notion that it's a do-nothing seat. I'm
Yes.
sure you've heard that.
Yes.
And we grew up with the taxation without representation.
Yes.
So then came because when we were younger, there was we never even conceived of DC being a state at all.
Yes.
So then the statehood party came, and there was a run for the DC statehood. Eleanor was strong. advocating for that, but it seemed like it disappeared for a while, and we've been hearing it again recently within the last 10 years. And what I feel like we need to do, especially for a younger generation in the District of Columbia, is to kind of educate them on that seat,
Yes.
on what the actual responsibility would be. And I wanted to ask personally, because I run a platform that, kind of bridges the gap with the older and the younger generation in the district. And we want to really start to have town halls, maybe in the public libraries, and to be able to invite people out and educate people, voters, to explain to them how that seat has evolved.
Yes.
From, like you said, we've been having represented for so long, and would you be
Well,
willing to
Okay, so I love that idea. I'll participate in any of your town halls. I love the idea of educating voters, old and young, for what this seat could be. Let me say, this seat is not definitely what I just described. It depends on the person who holds it. Because it has no vote, the power of the job is not in the position, it's in the person who holds it. So, in the right hands, it can be very powerful. The DC delegate can sit on committees, can vote on committees, can debate on the House floor, can sign letters of resolution, can help frame big national debates and be sure DC's interests are number one across the House of Representatives. It's a powerful megaphone and bully pulpit for the nation's capital's representative. I don't think it's always been used that way, but it can be in the hands of the right person. And I think it's even more than that. I think the DC delegate can be the ambassador to the national business community, the national nonprofit community, the national foundation community, because we need all the best thinking, all the best innovation, resources, talent, because we have got to reinvent our economy for the future. We can't depend on the federal government the way we have. We've got to have new industry, new ideas, new jobs that are going to be sustainable, not just now, but for decades. We've got to grapple with AI and what it's going to do to our jobs. So the delegate, if she's got the right relationships and the right insight and initiative, can bring the best, can use those networks and bring those ideas and resources to this city. That's what I want to do. So not every prospective delegate can do that, but I can do that.
I wasn't going to say anything. I want to piggyback and help you out. Reverend Motley asked a question when we had control of the House
Yes.
and the Senate, why we didn't get it. We have to understand is the whole issue behind is that we were getting city Democrat. We had 2 Democratic senators, 2 Democratic Republicans. The reason we didn't get it then was because some of those Democrats were in competitive states and they were risking losing the position to a Republican. And the reason I said this, I'm still above the ground. In 1971, I ran for Congress of the United States.
Okay.
In 1971. I
Well,
was the first one to get kicked off the ballot. I ran against Walter Fauntleroy.
okay.
I was an independent.
Well, I have a lot to learn from you.
And
although
I still
want to
carry
know.
I still carry my poster around. I still have my poster, and I still own my printer. And that was in 1971. Because a lot of folks don't know, we first got the right to vote in 1960. We voted for the President of the United States. That's how we ended up with 3 electoral votes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after that, I ran for Congress. I ran twice for City Council in Ward 5. So I've been around, but my claim to fame, I was about a freshman in Federal City College. And I had the nerve, I'm basically out of Ward 1.
Okay.
I'm probably one of the few people in this town that on my birth certificate is 1350 Clifton Street, because my father was one of 4 janitors. But in 1971, a bunch of young folks at 14th Street said, you need, fat guy said, I didn't even know what Congress was. But I wanted to run. And boy, I'm the first person, I ended up doing a write-in candidate, and I was an independent, and that was 1971. So I ran for that job that you want.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm eager to learn your lesson. So let me take your question, and then I may have to run to my
It's very nice to be here with you.
Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Washington. I'm Jackie Reyes, chairwoman.
Can't hear you.
I am Rebecca Washington. I'm Jackie Reyes, chairwoman. And my question is, how do you plan to collaborate with the DC Council?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Jackie. I would be thrilled to collaborate with her and her new colleagues on on DC Council. I think it's very important that we collaborate. DC doesn't have very many elected positions, and we have got to, I said before, we've got to have our A-team in place to grapple with the challenge. We're under attack by our own president, and we have got to be aligned as a DC Council, as the delegate, the mayor, and the Attorney General. It doesn't mean we all have to say exactly the same things at every moment, but we have got to have an aligned and coordinated strategy, because if we're divided, we're easy to beat. So we're a small district. We don't have the formal power that states have. We've got to have a coordinated plan across the great talent that needs to be elected in June and in November. And so we've got to coordinate, work together, be very clear about what our challenges are, what our strengths are, what our opportunities are, and together we've got to win that fight. Thank you for your work on this important campaign.
I think you have one last one.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I'll be pretty quick. And first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Anna, for putting this together. I'm a candidate for DC Council at large, but more importantly, right now, I'm the U.S. representative, oftentimes called Shadow Rep. I'm joined by my predecessor, alumni Franklin Garcia, and it leads me to this question, similar to the question that was previously asked. The Congresswoman oftentimes sees herself as a one-of-one, only person on the Hill, and oftentimes didn't utilize the statehood delegation, which is the shadow reps, the senators, and beyond, mainly not going to meetings with her, press conferences and beyond. As a delegate, what opportunities do you see are open for the statehood delegation to be involved with your work to help improve our focus for statehood or even anti-DC bills coming through the House?
I think it's a fantastic point. I welcome the collaboration and the talent and the drive and the initiative of everybody who is committed to DC statehood and to the furtherance of DC interests and DC priorities. And I've gotten to know you, I've gotten to know Ankit. There is talent in that circle, there is dedication, there is drive, and I want to help accelerate and advance the groundwork you guys have been laying. We haven't won the fight yet, but we can, and it will be because of the groundwork that you and others have laid. And I want to be the partner, the accelerant, one of the leaders who makes it possible for all that work to finally come to fruition for the city.
Thank you.
To thank you for everything.
Franklin's done a lot of work too.
Yes, this is such an illustrious group. I didn't know that I would that I'd have the former candidates and the former office holders, and so thank you for your service. And I know now what it's like to do it from this side. As I said, I've lived in this city for 30 years. I've served the city indirectly for 30 years. But to be a candidate, you fall in love with the city in a whole new way. And I'm very grateful for this experience. And I find it very meaningful, and I'm more devoted than ever to the city, to our possibilities. All right, I'm gonna sign off and go do this candidate forum.